Hey, David. Yeah, I'll be on the Zoom in just a second. Yeah, I know. I know. We've got to tell everybody everything that's going on with Torker. Dude, I'm getting 100 emails a day. I'm getting tons of phone calls. Everybody wants to know. So turn on your Zoom. Or not the Zoom, the Google Meet. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, hit that one. All right, and then we'll tell everybody all about everything that's going on with Torker. Are you ready? Okay.
What's
Bill,
up, man? You ready?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah,
Man,
it's been like a year since we've had you on Inside Torker. Like we started doing Inside Torker a year ago.
has it been a year since we started doing Inside Torker?
Yeah, we wanted to tell the history of Torker, what we're doing, what we kind of were looking for in the future, and we're in the future now. We're a year in the future. And
Actually, I'm in the year 2032 right now. I'm going back in time to talk to you. You should have seen what we did in 2028. It was amazing.
So today, let's talk about the state of Torker. What's going on? There's been a lot of stuff happening. You and I have both started doing builds. Your Tommy Bracken's build, it came out a couple weeks ago. My Clint Miller build came out last week. So,
Man, well, what got me thinking about the builds, and I know we went back and forth on the email a little bit, is that with Torker, we came out of the gate really hard, and we came out of the gate trying to please everybody. And I think that was one of our biggest problems, was that I was trying to please everybody. I was trying to make sure that we are hitting every single generation and every single thing. And this year, with it being our 50-year anniversary, oh my God, 50 years of Torker, I'm really taking a conscious effort to really fine tune some things. And that's where, when I was sitting there flipping through that issue of Stoked, I was like, wow, there's a certain point in time that things need to exist. And I love honoring and paying tribute to what came before us. I mean, I'm a big BMX guy. You're a big BMX guy. Everybody that's affiliated with everything we do, we're all huge BMX guys. And we remember the history. We have that nostalgia for the history. We want to do that. But at the same time, we need to look at what we're going to do for the future, because that's cool that everybody loved Torker back in the day, but I want to get all the new kids and all the new riders just as excited about Torker today as we're keeping everybody happy with the past. So you and I had that conversation the one day that, all right, well, it's time to close up the vault. So what we're going to do is, as we sell out of the LPs, as we sell out of the EKs, as we sell out of the Barbarians, as we sell out of the Diesels, and we go through all of that stuff, we're just going to close it up, put it back in the vault. Doesn't mean that it might not come back in another 5 years or 10 years for the 55th or the 60th anniversary of Torker. But for right now, we'll do very limited edition, very pinpointed releases like the big bike. The big bike this year, I think people are going to be really excited about. We're building a total of 50 of them. That's it. There's 50. They're serial numbered. They're being made here in Southern California, chromed in Southern California, powder coated in Southern California, stickered in Southern California. It's going to be a really small, limited release.
Yeah, and while you're talking about the big bike, there's been a ton of confusion around the big bike. Yeah, because there's big bike BMX. Like even Isaac, he was kind of not sure what size is it. It's a 20-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a 20
And
inch.
there's a reason for it, being that whenever Torker first had their first bike in 76, it was the MX. It had the
Yep.
forward facing dropouts, the Huffy dropouts. But in 78, whenever the LP came out, that frame got the rear facing dropouts, which the big bike, what we're building, has the rear facing dropouts. The big,
Yes.
and they changed the name from the MX to the big bike. So, and then an extra little bit of detail in there that people watching might want to know is the reason why we have the MX line is because they're big bikes. So whenever we started up Torker, we came back with the MX line, the MX 26 and 29s. So
Exactly.
the MX is our big bike line. So it'll never be a 20 inch. It'll never be a 24 inch. It's a 26 and a 29.
Yeah, and it's funny that a lot of people don't pick up on that Easter egg. They feel like they're Torker historians or that they know everything about Torker, but they haven't ever put that connection together. And I think it's funny because there's a lot of little things that we've done and that we do that are little Easter eggs that I'm trying to drop in there.
Well, we're
And
nerds. We're Torker
yeah,
nerds.
well, come on, I'm a confessed bicycle geek, right?
Right.
You know, I've said for a long time that, you know, I am just a bike geek. I mean, I love a good mountain bike, I love a good road bike, but BMX is my thing, and I'm a bike geek, and I want to use the best material, and I want to learn how we can shave off ounces or grams here, and what material is going to be stronger, what material is going to be better. And as we move forward, that's exactly what we're doing, is that we're going to take Torker in a forward direction so that the fans today, the riders like Groove, I mean, Groove's killing it out there. You know, Rick Thorne, I mean, he's going nuts trying to kill himself, doing everything out there. But I'm trying to move it forward for these guys. And I want to do the same thing on the race side to where people are like, oh, I'm really excited. I mean, I know Nate was super stoked to get his diesel. You know, he said that it was better than his LP. And I've had a lot of people, you know, Kareem hit me up for the 26-inch, you know, diesel because he wanted to ride that. And it's
I've
like,
been
okay,
riding mine for a year now, which I'm actually about to, this is the prototype. So I'm actually about to retire it before I mess it up, because it's a weird spot being the historian for the company and also being a rider, because I love the bike and I want to ride it, but it's the prototype. And every time I get a little nick on it, like the historian collector side of me gets pissed off.
But see, that goes back to like the old, you know, Ken Miles and, you know, the Shelby thing, to where it was all about, I mean, race cars, race bikes. I mean, they're designed to get nicks on them. They're designed to have scratches. And I mean, even with guitars, I've had it to where with our guitar side, I've had people going, oh, well, I really got to have serial number 1, or I've got to have serial number whatever. And Elaine Johannes and I were having a long talk about this, to where he's like, Bill, he goes, the serial number doesn't make the guitar play better. It doesn't make it sound better. The only person that's really in for that is for a collector. And he goes, I would much rather see a well-worn serial number 1 that somebody just loved and enjoyed and played the shit out of, and just made music for everyone with it, rather than a pristine one sitting in a vault case that everybody's like, oh, you can't touch it, can't touch it, you know. And that's what I think, like with your prototype. And I mean, hey, I'll get you another one so that you can preserve and save that one if you want. But those little nicks, those little dings, that's what I like going into the Hall of Fame that Gork has set up out there by you. I mean, when I walked up and saw Billy Griggs's bike and his uniform, I was like, oh, well, I put that bike together for him. I laced those wheels. I think one of them still had my sticker saying hand built by Bill Ryan on it. And then the leathers, I can cut out the Naga hide for the logos because it was before the dyes. And that bike, I mean, the chrome was faded, there was chips, and I mean, and Billy used to take pristine care of his stuff. But when I got to look at it, I'm like, oh man, I wonder what track that dirt's from. You know, how did this go? You know, I mean, to me, it gives so much more emotion and so much more feeling to know that that bike was actually ridden and ridden hard. And yeah, it's serial number 1, it's the prototype, it's part of the lineage, but it wasn't treated like a trailer queen. And I mean, heck, I do the same thing on my cars. I mean, my Raptor, I've got almost 200,000 miles on that thing, and it still jumps and does everything great. And yeah, it's got, you know, some little nicks and things, but it's designed to do what you're supposed to do with it. And, you know, my 540 in the back, you know, that thing, it's got 160,000 miles on it, but it's 160,000 miles that I've taken it up to 187. I'm trying to see how far I can take myself on this and take it on the track. And people are like, oh, those are so rare and there's so few of those. Yeah, but they're fun. And if I'm not driving it and if I'm not using it, what's the point?
Yeah. I get that.
No, I know. And I see both sides.
Yeah.
Because
well, like the Targa, whenever I rebuilt that, so many people were asking, you know, if I was going to restore it back to original. I was like, no, this is the most recognized Torker prototype ever, you know, with that red and yellow fade. And even Alan, whenever we had the call with him, you know, he asked if I was going to go back to the original white. I was like, absolutely not. Like this, everything, that paint, those stickers, that's part of its story. You know, this one doesn't have much of a story. So this
well,
one,
we need to make it have some story.
Before there's a story, you know, I'll preserve it. Yeah.
No, but it is really cool to see stuff like that. And I mean, I get really excited when I see parts of history of whether it be bicycles, whether it be cars, whether it be guitars, whether it be motorcycles, whatever. You see that little snapshot of history and you're like, oh man, that thing, that was rad. That was, oh man, can you imagine what it would have been like to drive that back in the day or to play that back in the day, you know? And that part of everything is cool. I love it. And that's part of what helps us grow the tree, to where I always try and tell everybody, hey, my roots run deep, right? I like the roots that I have in BMX. I've got 46 years of working in the industry, 46 years. Being a BMXer and starting to ride, I've got 55 years, you know, because the first time I started riding a bike, you know, 3 years old. So I've got 55 years of riding, 46 years in the industry. So my roots are pretty well planted, but I want the tree to grow, right?
Yeah.
I want the tree to grow. And I want the sport of BMX to get bigger. I want our brands to get bigger. I want everybody out there to get infected with the bug of BMX that we love. I mean,
Yeah.
I was talking to, who was it? I'm going to draw a blank on it now, and this is going to be a problem. But they actually made the comment to where they're like, man, I wish my dad never got me the BMX bike when I was 7. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it's infected my entire life. You know, I really wish that when it was, my dad was giving me a bike at 7, I was like, oh, no, you know, what's that mean that, oh, no, you know, I don't want that type of thing. But he goes, here I am now, 52 years old, and for 45 years, all I've done is obsess about BMX because, you know, it's such a great thing. I don't know where those little bugs are that are infecting people, but they're rad.
Hey, I'm the same way. My dad got me a used 83 Torker that was my uncle's. So he had it just sitting, and you know, I had bikes as a as a kid and stuff. But my first
BMX.
whenever I was 11 years old and I got an 83 Torker, And I even got his red, white, and black Max pants along with it. So I know the infection because I'm sitting in front of a lot of it. And thankfully I kept a lot of this stuff. So, I'm grateful that, I thought about and kept it. I don't let anything go.
That's the weird thing for me too, is that I've kept a lot of the stuff. I mean, I grew up a latchkey kid, right? Mom was off at work, mom and dad got divorced. So, I mean, I got to cruise the streets, whatever, but we had no money, right? There was no money. So when I did finally get something, I'd hold on to it, because it's like, oh, I'm never going to get one of these again. I'm going to hold on to it. And it was my dad, rest his soul, who actually popped off to me one time when we were having to move. And he showed up to help move. And he was like, hey, Bill, you're a dad now. You're married now. You just bought a house. You're doing this. What the frick are you doing with all this old junk? Get rid of it. Just get it gone. And I was like, Dad, it's part of me. It's part of my history. It's part of what I've got. And he's like, man, I don't want to move this shit again. He goes, just get it gone. And he started telling me about eBay. And he's like, oh, man, he goes, there's this thing, eBay. People buy your trash. And I thought it was kind of weird because I had some brand new 7B rims. And I mean, still wrapped in the array of paper, I had a whole row. There was a bike shop by us that had gone out of business. And at their clearance sale, they had a ton of array of 7B rims for $1 a piece, right? So I picked up gold ones, blue ones, silver ones. I mean, everything that they had. And I used to love to run them as the front rim on my bike because it was a single wall, it was super lightweight, and it was a good way to make a performance addition to your bike, right? So the second part about it was that those rims sucked and they would fold on you like no tomorrow, right? So I was like, oh shit, I can pick up 20 of them for $20. Yeah, I'll pick up 20 of them for $20. And when I fold one, I'll just relace it and go. Well, once I had stopped racing and I still had 7 or 8 of those rims left, which means I folded 13 of them. So I'm sure the purists and the collectors are going to go, oh my God, what did you do? But I took one and I put it up on eBay and I put it up there for $1. And I figured, oh, okay, if I can get $1 for it or whatever. Within 5 minutes, I had someone text me saying, I'll give you $120 for that rim right now if you'll end the auction. And it was my very first eBay auction. And I'm like, oh, dude, you don't want this. I'm telling you, go get a Super 7X, go get this. You don't want this. I'm going to tell you right now, this is trash. It should never go on your bike. It needs to be thrown away. And he's like, no. I'll give you $120. I'll send you money, or I'll wire transfer you, or I'll send you a cashier's check. And I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. And I said, well, tell you what, I've got another one. I'm not going to stop the auction on this one, but I have another one that's still in wrapper, just like this one. If you want it that bad, FedEx me a cashier's check. And the next day I had a cashier's check that was FedEx to me with a FedEx label to ship him that rim back. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's going to freaking hate me because I'm going to send him this rim and he's going to get it and it's going to be a single wall. And this is before I realized collecting was a thing, right? And I'm like, man, this guy's going to be pissed. And I'm like, okay. So I sent it to him. My auction for that other rim ended for like $180, right? So I'm like, shit, I got gypped out of $60. I could have gotten more. But what was really cool is I ended up making a good friend out of it. Darren Chan from NorCal.
Yeah.
He was the
I
one who
bought whenever I was getting back into bikes, my first collector bike was a red Supercross, the one that JP rode at Dirtyfest.
Yeah.
And I
The
got
one
that.
Hold on.
You grabbing Greystoke, aren't you?
In Greystoke, we actually used JP on your red AMX.
Which I'm still mad at him about because he tore my seat, and it was a brand new Odyssey seat. I told him I don't care if you. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
I told him I don't care what happens to it, as long as you land a clean 360, and he never landed a clean 360. I wouldn't have cared what he did to that bike. He could have snapped it in half, but he never gave me a clean 360.
Oh man. So which Odyssey saddle was on that one? I'm not grabbing the magazine again to do
the Pro saddle. It's the Pro saddle with the black Kevlar on the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure we get you one, and I'll make JP pay up. Yeah. But no, it was cool because when Darren bought that rim from me, and then he bought the second one, it was weird because he hit me up and he's like, oh, are you the Bill Ryan of Supercross who did this, who did this? And he started telling me more of my history than I could remember. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? This is really weird. And Darren was super kind. I didn't have my Panda anymore. I had sold my Panda. And he was asking me, he goes, well, what was the first frame that you ever got a co-sponsor on? What was the first thing? And the very first frame I ever got a co-sponsor on was a Panda. And he had asked me, he goes, do you have one still? And I said, no, I got rid of that thing long time ago. I can't remember what I traded it for, but back in the day, how kids were. Hey, Panda was no longer in business. I got a co-sponsorship from Torker, so I probably traded the Panda for a set of rims, or who knows what I traded it for. 2 days later, a Panda frame showed up at my house, and Darren sent a letter and said, enjoy, rebuild, vintage BMX exists. Here's a couple of websites for you to check out. I know you're doing a lot of good stuff with Supercross, but remember this past stuff too. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And, Darren and I are still friends 26 years, 27 years later now.
Yeah.
And
you know that he has 2 of the mid-school prototypes, right?
Yes. And he said that if he ever decides to get off of one, that it's coming my way.
Yeah, there were 3 of them. There's one of them that's in the Hall of Fame now in Tulsa. It's up on the wall. That was the one that was in the 97 catalog. But Darren has the one that had a round hole, and the round hole was the one that was at the very first Interbike whenever they debuted it, the one made by Control Tech.
Yeah.
So he's got the one that was in the, I think it was a BMX Plus in 96 or early 97, showing the very first Torker coming back.
That's so rad. And I really wish, and again, this is just me being stupid, that when they did bring it back, that they kept it with the one round hole rather than the 3 or the 4 or the T imprint or anything like that. Because to me, that's what Torker was known for. That fisheye, gusset, which, I mean, that style of gusset was used on a Cook's Brothers. It was used on a Mongoose. It was used on a Jimmy Weinhardt. I mean, it was used on so many different frames back in the day, but different variations of it. Nobody ever had the same one. I mean, except Mongoose and Jag and, all the brands that they were producing. But it was a clean, simple way to do a gusset, and it made the lightning of that gusset a lot easier by just putting that big round hole into it. And that's where we as Torker get a lot of people asking for the 280X that had that little slot oval gusset.
Yeah.
Man, I just don't want to do that one. And to me, that wasn't Torker. And I know why they did.
Yeah, they did that because they were trying to relieve stress, because that hole where the frame was stressing was cracking out in that little thin spot. So by ovalizing that instead of a round, you're putting the stressors out into the meat of it instead.
Right. And on that gusset, it's got so much more thick plate going backwards, to where instead of that round hole, they made it to where it's just that little slot up front. And I hate to say it, but I think that if Torker would have come out with that gusset first, I don't think the frames would have sold as well as they did. And I know it's a really weird little optical illusion type of thing, but that round hole just looks right. And it looked right along with all the other brands that were doing it. The Cooks Brothers, the Mongooses, you know, DG obviously did theirs where it was imprinted with the DG, and then people were cutting it out and all that. So, but that round hole just looked so iconic, and part of what our history was. And, you know, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of little Easter eggs pop up in what we're doing for the future as well. But we're kind of doing what Torker did. I mean, they took that round hole and turned it into the oval. Well, we're going to do some cool things. I mean, I'm really excited for what the new race bikes are going to be, where they're going to be disc compatible. They're going to be internal cable routing.
Hey.
Oh,
don't give it all away.
No, well, see here.
We're gonna get to that, to where, you know, sometimes we talk a little bit too fast.
Yes.
So
yes.
hold your tongue. We will have a very cool modern race bike. We will have a super cool modern freestyle.
Yeah. And while we're doing that, we're going to still keep the MX-26s, the MX-29s. You know, we'll be doing the limited edition 50-year stuff. I mean, we've got so many cool projects this year that I'm excited about, that help move Torker forward while still honoring its past. And I think everybody will be really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, you kind of got right into the next thing. So we have a lot of projects coming, but we've talked about a lot of projects, and we have gotten a lot of questions. We have gotten a lot of hate mail. Specifically me. I got ran through on Facebook not too long ago about the Oakley grips. You know, so we'll get to that. No, we're good. We'll get to that.
Because I get it too. I have people who, you know, I don't get to spend a lot of time on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I mean, I'm literally doing 14-hour days in the shop, dealing with material suppliers, powder coaters, the shipping, the finance. I mean, everything that goes into running the business. So Facebook, Instagram, everybody's like, oh, well, when you're going to the bathroom, you should. I'm not taking my phone into the bathroom to sit there to scroll through Facebook or Instagram. My time, it's too precious to me. I've got this much time left, and I'm going to make sure that I make the best out of that little bit. But I will get all the emails, and I'll get all the phone calls. And I had the one guy who was really upset that he thought when we posted that we got the boxes of Oakley grips, that we were going to be able to sell them. And we tried to make it very clear that, hey, these are for a special project that we're working on. What a lot of people don't understand is that in the bicycle industry, when you're doing things like we've started on some complete bikes for Torker, And that's what those grips were for, because Oakley made a deal to where the only way that we can sell those grips is on a complete bike. They do not want to be in the grip business. They do not want to do aftermarket. It was an honor and a tribute to us that they let us do that. The other bike company that they had let do that was SE, and SE had a long heritage with them. They let us do it because Torker had a long history with them. Eddie King had to jump in and really try and get that pushed through for us, which I was really excited about. But I wanted to make sure that we honored and respected their wishes. So when we first got them, me being a little naive on things, and Eddie Fiola and I have talked about this before, is that I always go, oh yeah, we can knock that out. We can do that. And I don't think about what really is going into all of that stuff as far as a timeline. And I get excited about the project. And it's an 18-month period from when we start the production on the complete bikes with the BOM to be able to order the special hubs, order the special saddles, order the special tires, get everything done. 18 months from when it starts to when we finish. So we kind of jumped the gun a year and a half by showing off those grips. But I was excited, and
we didn't think that it was going to take as long as it did too, because there was a lot of slowdowns, just in production, the tariff stuff going on. Like it really.
When the tariff hit in February, all the factories shut everything down. They just said, done. Tariffs are too high.
They didn't even ask us about it. They just did it instead. So we didn't even know that they were shutting stuff down for 3 months in some cases. So where people saw that, where I got it was because you had leaked it, but we didn't say why. So I was just saying the details are coming. They, the full picture will be here. But so I wasn't just saying they're for a complete bike, because we weren't ready to release that. We didn't want that to be public knowledge. So I was trying to protect what we had, so it's still exciting and still, it's out there now, so we can't retract it. I'm not going to delete our post about it.
Oh no.
So so I was trying to just manage expectation. It's coming. You'll get something, but some people got overly excited thinking that we're going to be selling the grips and looking into every like and love and whatever. So I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
guess
where
I should have just not said anything, but
Tucker's been really on me about that. I've got some pretty cool stuff that we're doing with Supercross right now too, and he's like, Dad, I'm embargoing this. You can't take photos of this. I'm stealing this until we have it ready to go, because I'm a BMX geek, right? I love it just as much as anybody else. And that's where I was like, okay, well, cool. Oakley, I wanted to tell them, hey, thank you for letting us do these. I wanted to get Oakley excited about the fact that we were excited about the fact. And oh man, that one's come back to bite us pretty bad. And the sad part is that I paid for all those grips a year and a half ago. So it's not like, oh, it's been on open terms or anything like that. They were paid for. So they've been sitting. I'd love to turn it back into money. And I know people got madder when Kathy got inducted into the Hall of Fame, since Kathy was one of the Oakley poster girls. I had reached out to Oakley and I said, look, man, we haven't gotten our complete bikes back yet. I want to do something for Kathy. What can we do to make it special? And they're like, well, you can't sell them. Whatever you do, you can't sell them. But while she's getting inducted in the Hall of Fame, if you want to put one in with a frame and fork, we'll kind of look the other way for you for this, because it's for Kathy, right? We wanted to make sure Kathy was getting something, and that all the fans were able to be a part of it. I mean, that's where we made the shirts and we made the extra jerseys, and you did that amazing heartbreaker build for her. And I mean, that's the part of the history and the part of the roots of it that I love so much, and I want to keep going. But that turned into a problem. So that's also where we got beat up on the UNI-MAX saddle, is that we had paid for the tool, we had done the 3D modeling, we had given them, you know, close to 20 grand for the tool. And they said, no problem, we're going to have it ready for you right away. We'll have production for you by June. Everything's going to be great. Okay, cool. Well, then all the tariff stuff started happening. And when the tariff stuff started happening, I started reaching out to them saying, hey guys, just checking in. How we looking? No response. Hey guys, just checking in. How we looking? No response. So finally, our agent flew over here from Taiwan, and I got to sit with him face to face in my office. And I said, hey, what's going on with this? And he goes, oh, well, we stopped that project. And I'm like, why'd you stop that project? I already paid the deposit. I paid the tooling. I paid all this stuff. And he goes, you won't be able to afford them. You can't afford them. You're not going to sell them. So we don't think it's a good idea for you. And I was like, oh, well, I still think it's a good idea. And I'll figure out the pricing. I'll figure out what we're going to do on it. But we need to make sure that we have those coming in. And he's like, you're sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm 100% positive. And he's like, okay, when I go back, I'll talk to them and we'll get it started back up for you, which we did. And we got in all the hard plastic ones first. And now the padded ones will be shipping to us. Well, when this comes out in about another 3 weeks, which give it another 20 days for the boat to come over from, you know, Taiwan to the US. So figure in April, maybe late March, we'll be able to start shipping all the padded ones. They weren't sure how to do it at first. They thought we wanted it just like that nylon seat condom that we had sent them. You know, they're like, you want this? We don't. And I'm like, no, that's not what we want at all. And I had to try and explain to them how we need it stapled in and a permanent pad and all this, and go through the whole thing with the graphics again. And they sent us 5 samples. Is this okay? Yeah, that's perfect. Awesome. We're going to start running this. And they're ready now, but they're going on Chinese New Year. You know, all of Asia goes on Chinese New Year. So there's a 3-4 week period where nothing really gets done. And that's where that little holdup is on it right now. But we'll finally have those, which is going to be great. And the Comp 2 tires, that's another one where we went ahead, we bought the samples, we got the molds done, everything was ready. And when the tariff hit, they were just like, oh, no, because the Comp 2 tires that we're getting, they're actually coming out of Thailand. And the tariffs coming from Thailand are really high. And I don't have an agent in Thailand. So it's not like I have someone where I can deal with them direct on this. It was a one-off company, and they've been very difficult to work with. We finally got them to produce the first 500 of the tires. They're all black right now, and then the colors will start to come in. But there was a lot of things that happened with that. And I was excited because when we first got the mold right and everything was right, the rubber compound was right at that point, I said, okay, how long? 30 days. Really? 30 days. Yep, 30 days, we'll have it. You're going to be good. I was excited. Hey, let's do a video on this. Let's get this out here. Let's do this, because I figured in 30 days, I'm not just buying 500 tires. I'm buying 2,000 tires, because I'm buying the 175s, 500 of them. I'm buying the 2125s, 500 of them. That's 1,000 tires just in the blacks. Then when we start doing the reds, we start doing the blues. It's like, oh man, at this point, I actually pulled yellow off of the first order because I'm like, man, this is going to be way too expensive. The tariffs are going to be crazy. I don't see a lot of need or want from people for yellow tires right now. The red, the blue, the black, I think those will be the better ones. So that's where I'm going to invest my money at this point. And again, it was something to where tariffs hit, they shut down. And trying to get a response, it's not like you can just pick up the phone and call them. It's not like, you know, I mean, you can email them all you want. Doesn't mean that they're going to respond. So luckily we did end up having an agent get involved and communicated with them, and they said, yeah, they're still going to buy them. Yeah, even at the higher rate, they're still going to take them. And I was really glad that we were able to get the competition Deuce and the snake belly samples in. You know, he did a great job on those. You know, he had those produced in Japan, you know, from Pan Eraser. And, you know, I'm really excited that those were able to come through. But I've had so many people complain about the price. And I've tried to explain it to them. Hey, you're getting a Kevlar bead, you're getting a good durometer tire, you're getting a good 120 TPI skin wall. You're actually getting a tire that rides right. It has a great traction point, and it's $90 a tire. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But we've gotten a lot of hate mail over that. We've gotten a lot of phone calls about it. And it's not our choice. You know, we didn't get to pick a price. You know, I pay more for those tires from him than we retail the Maxxis DTHs for. They cost us a lot of money, and he dictates, hey, this is what my MAP policy is. You cannot sell it for any less than this. Okay, well, that's what we're going to sell it for. But I have so many people who are still, oh, that's for 2 tires, right? No, that's for 1. And I've gone and looked. A 26 by 2125 red snake belly tire, used, dry rotted sides, $250. Well, the rubber is really hard. It doesn't have any softness to it anymore because it's been dry. Even if it's been sitting in a garage, it hasn't been moisturized properly. It's not like someone kept it in a cigar humidor and, you know, made sure that it had perfect, you know, atmospheric condition. And I've actually been scared for some of those guys. Like when we were at Dirtyfest, I was watching them. I'm like, man, they're running on a tire because that 26 by 2125 snake belly hasn't been made since 82. So they're running on a 40-year-old plus tire.
Yeah.
And someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt bad.
Right.
So that's why I was really excited when they came out with the 26-inch remakes. I'm like, oh, awesome. You know, buy it, burn it up, buy another one, burn it up, do another one. I mean, you get to ride, you get to enjoy, and that's what
they are expensive, but they are a real race tire. It's not just a cheap knockoff tire. Like Jody has them on his Barbarian 2, you know, the Marble Man, and he's just a psychopath on bikes. You know, like he will jump off curb, like huge curves, just send it. You know, we have the video of him sending it off of this weird little ledge thing and just wadding it up. And you know, he does downhill. He'll take it to the mountain bike trails. You know, he's riding it on the road, and those tires hold up. You know, they hold up to some really hard riding. He's, you know, a great rider, but he is a hard rider.
Well, it's like Camel Joe. Camel Joe's the same thing, right? Camel Joe, he's a great rider, but he's insane, right? He's gonna try and find the biggest jump. He's gonna find the biggest downhill. He's going to try and do anything and everything as crazy as he can. And I think that's why Jody and Josh get along so good, because they're like, twins. You know?
You do know that Jody is the National BMX Hall of Fame long jump champion, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this past year, he won the long jump on his snake bellies. So
That's awesome.
and that was off a ramp onto just flat, solid concrete, and rode away like nothing. So
That's rad. No, I did
they're
not.
expensive, but they're worth it. Don't complain. They're nice.
Yeah. People are going to complain anyway, though, right? No matter what we say or do. And that's been the one hard part that I've had this year, is that, again, we tried to please everybody. And we tried to make it to where LP, the EK, the Barbarian, the MXs, the MX26, the Diesel, the Freestylist, the Freestyle Frame, you know, we tried to really appeal to everybody. And I think we did a really good job with that. I think that we made a lot of people happy, but it's been very hard for us to manage. And especially with the way the economy's been, the tariffs have been, it's something to where it's like, okay, cool. We had our big coming out party. We had our big celebration. You know, we had, you know, okay, everything's out. Now it's time to start treating it a little bit like a business and be a little bit more precise with what we're doing and putting some of that stuff back away in the vault, which again, that's where I was like, hey, I need to start building a couple of these because they're going to be gone. And I was like, okay, I'm grabbing the last white double XL. You know, this is going to be my Tommy Bracken's build. And I grabbed an XL in chrome in the Pro X to do the Miranda, you know, the Hollywood build, so that we'll have the twins. And I actually grabbed a Barbarian, and I'm like, oh, I got to do a Clint Miller build. I mean, Clint was my hero. Clint was, you know, so kind to me when I was younger, and is just one of the nicest guys, just like Tommy, just like Mike. I mean, everybody that has been on Torker and everybody that we've tried to do with Supercross, I mean, it's not that they're the fastest, but they're the nicest. They're great people that just happen to ride bikes fast. And it was so cool at the second Dirtyfest when I gave Tommy his Pro X. I made sure that I gave him serial number 11 because you found it when we were going through that huge mess and trying to sticker everything. You found number 11. That was you, David.
Yep.
And at Dirtyfest, I called Tommy over and said, here, man, I want you to have this. It's the first production run of the rebirth of Torker. It's serial number 11. Here you go. And to watch Tommy start crying. And you got to remember, I've known Tommy forever. He slept on my couch. We've been roommates. You know, we've known Tommy forever. And he just starts crying and he goes, Bill, do you know that I got my first and my second pro wins on the Torker with number 11? He goes, you know, we went to North Park and I won. I went to South Park and I won. And he goes, it was the first time I beat Stu. It was the first time I beat Greg. It was the first time I beat all those guys. And he goes,
he told me that that was the first time that he actually felt like a pro. And
yeah,
Stu came up to him and pat him on the back and told him good job. And he said that, you know, he just about melted. You know, I'm one of the guys now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he told me, to where he's like, man, he goes, up to that point, I didn't feel like I was part of the pro crew. I didn't feel like I was part of the clique. And I think a lot of that is that Tommy started racing late. You know, he didn't start racing until he was 17, 18 years old, did amateur for like 6 months and then instantly turned pro. And it just so happened that he was really fast at track. You know, he ran really good. And one of his friends said, oh, dude, you should come try this BMX thing. And you'd do really good at it. And yeah, look what happened. You know, he did great. But giving him that bike, I was like, oh man, this really meant something to him. And, you know, to give him and Miranda their jerseys, you know, Miranda's with the 24, and Miranda was so happy. He's like, you got it right. You got it with 24. Oh my God, I love this. This is so rad. And just seeing the way that their faces light up. And like with Clint, you know, when he called after he got the first Barbarian, he just like, Bill, I can't believe this. Thank you so much. And it's like rad, you know, we're paying tribute and paying homage to what came before us. And we're going to continue to do that. We're not going to ever stop.
Yeah.
But we're also going to bridge the gap to grow the tree and keep things moving in a bigger direction.
Yeah. But one thing that we didn't really touch on, you know, before growing that tree, we still do have a little bit of the past. You know, you did mention the big bike. We talked about that quite a bit, but you didn't mention where we stand on it right now. I know that we don't want to say when it's going to be out. It will be out soon, but it's still in production. It's coming. Get ready.
Yes. So I'd like to give an exact date, but again, we're working with US manufacturers. So with that, we're having to deal with, you know, the dropouts being die cut, the gussets being die cut, the tubing and all that. The last time that I spoke with them last week, all the frames had all been completely finish welded. They had been polished. They were getting ready to be sent off to chrome. They were going to finish up the forks, get everything off to chrome. Chrome takes about 30 to 45 days, and then we're good to go. So without trying to be another Oakley box or a padded UNI-MAX saddle, you know, that's where we're sitting.
A good chance before Dirtyfest they'll be done, so people can have them built for Dirtyfest. A chance.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And this is the first time that we're actually giving anybody a chance to actually pick their serial number as well. And when I say pick their serial number, they don't get to call up and say, oh, I want serial 3 or I want number whatever. But what we've done is on the website, it lists every single serial number. And when you go in and buy, you're going to do the drop down and you're going to pick what serial number you want. And then that's the serial number you're going to get. When I had worked with our weld shop, I had told them, I said, hey, I want to make sure that we're shipping these in February. And I think we're going to be pretty close to being able to ship in February. We're going to be a week or two off maybe, but we're going to be shipping in February. And they already have our second 50-year anniversary prototype is done. They're building the fixture. And this year, I'm planning on doing one drop of the 50-year stuff every quarter. So the first quarter of the year, we're going to have the big bike drop. The second quarter of the year, we're going to have the blankety blank drop. The third quarter of the year, we're going to have the blankety blank drop. The fourth quarter of the year, we're going to have the blankety blank drop. So 4 projects that are big projects that obviously in the meantime, we're going to have other things like we're doing the Torker freestyle bars. And I know I've gotten a lot of heat over the fact of why we don't do a Torker bar, but the Torker bar wasn't that different from any of the other bars that were out there. And I want to make sure that we're doing everything proper and paying proper homage and tribute to it. So we've had a few people call up and say, hey, can I get a pair of the straight 8s, but can I get Torker stickers for it because I'm going to put it on my Torker? Yeah, of course. And then you get a traditional looking bar and it's got the Torker stickers, and you're done. I don't want to build 100 Torker bars to have 5 people get excited about it and then have 95 of them sitting on the shelf.
Right. And everybody wants a different size, a different color. Honestly, any bar is going to look like 99% like the original Torker bar from the 80s. You know,
Right.
obviously the crossbar is the thing, you know, it's a skinnier crossbar, but we're not building things, you know, I've spoken about this quite a bit if you can't tell, right, by how I'm so the vintage bars, like today, for today's riding, there's a reason why they're rare. It's because they break.
Yep.
We're building retro frames, and people want a retro bar to go with it. They want, you know, for the EK and the Barbarians and stuff like that. But we're building them better than they were.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that they were bad, but we want them to be able to
technology's changed.
Yeah,
technology changed.
Yeah, so there's no reason for us to make an inferior bar that we know is going to break or has a high probability of breaking. We don't want to do that to people. We don't want to put junk out into the market just to say that we did it. And we have amazing Supercross bars. We have amazing Speedline bars. S&M has amazing bars. There's bars out there that look the part. And, you know, there's just no reason.
No. And that's where with the freestyle bar, that one, I figured that's a unique enough shape. It's using large enough tubing. It's going to be strong, and it looks special. And to me, there's a lot of history with that bar, because the story that I got told from Martin Aparicio and Magoo was that Martin had designed that bar while he was at Torker because he wanted it to be easier for the tricks he was doing. And when Torker filed bankruptcy and everything was done and he moved over to GT, he still had that bar on his bike. And the story that I got told was that Gary Turner and Rich Long looked at it and said, oh, okay, well, here, what we're going to do is, rather than doing this weird, awkward bend that makes our bender spend forever trying to do it and have a lot of waste, we're just going to make the bottom U, and then we're going to make the top bar. It looks just the same, close enough. And that was the performer bar. And okay, rad. We make the performer bar already for Legends, for Eddie, for his former pro stuff. So we've already got those bars if people wanted to do that. But once I heard the story from Martin and Magoo, and we actually got a bar that was the original bar from back in the day, we're like, all right, cool. That's a good enough project that we can do this and we can put this into production. Because honestly, those 20-inch freestylists, I've had a lot of demand and a lot of people asking, hey, when are you going to have more? When are you going to have more? When are you going to have more? And I was really blown away. I didn't think that people would be that excited about it. And when I was talking with Jamie over at Odyssey, you know, he was like, dude, that freestylist, man, the way that that's done and the way that those tubes, he's like, that's such a cool design. And I was like, wow, okay, here's a full-on modern guy that, you know, he wasn't even ever born when Torker was around. And he had a similar story like Groove, you know, to where he's like, oh yeah, man, my dad used to race the Torker way back when, and then my dad raced a Supercross, and this is cool. And it's like, oh, rad, that's cool. I'm really happy to hear that. But here's a full-on modern person that looked at the freestylist and went, wow, if you can make that fit into modern day geometry and modern day stuff, you're going to kill it. And of course, the first day, what sold out? All the freestylists, you know, in the 20-inch size. You know,
and that was still even a modern retro. Now imagine if you know, as we're growing this tree, you know, that design as a fully modern freestyle frame, you know,
Yo, trust me.
don't say nothing. Don't say
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Groove. Keep an eye on Rick. You know, keep an eye on what's going on. You'll start to see some stuff that I'm pretty excited about.
Speaking of excited, so obviously I've known about it for a long time, but you were on Big Bike BMX, and Isaac has a way of pulling information out of you. So if you watching, if you don't watch Big Bike BMX, go over there, watch Isaac's channel. It's a great channel, but Bill goes on pretty often. Bill sponsors Isaac for the Supercross side for big bikes. And whenever they get talking, I don't know what it is about Isaac. He's just a big, lovable guy, but Bill just opens up and gives him everything. And and one thing that he gave him that we swore we would not say, what was it, Bill?
The 50-year anniversary Torker Vans.
What the heck, man? You couldn't hold that back.
I know. And what was sad is we got talking, and he was talking to me, and he was telling me how his Supercross Vans were his favorite shoes to go riding in, and that he really loved them. And he was bummed that we weren't doing anything more with Vans. And I said, oh, don't be bummed, because we are doing more stuff with Vans. You know, Stevie's awesome. We love working with Stevie and Jose, and the guys are great. And they've been so kind to us with opening up, you know, different molds that we're not supposed to be able to play with and do different little things to help us out. And Isaac was like, oh, really? Tell me more. You know, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want to say too much, but you know, we've got 3 new shoes. And he's like, 3? Last year, we only did 2 with Supercross. And I said, well, you know, we got 1 Torker one for the 50-year anniversary. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, but shh, we're not supposed to tell anybody. And he's like, well, I think we just did. No, and I'm like, you need to edit that out. And he's like, can I see a picture? And I'm like, no. But I did.
I have seen a picture, and they're awesome. So
yeah, well, you've actually seen, and you didn't see what I got about 10 minutes before we got on this call that I need to forward over to you.
I won't do like Isaac and share it on this.
Yeah.
So any of you that are looking for a picture of it, you're not getting it here.
Yeah, but that's where with Isaac, I sent him just a little corner, you know, and he's like, what? That, oh, now I want to see the rest, you know, and it's like, oh, all right. But yeah, literally 10 minutes before we got on the call, Jose said, hey, first article's done. What do you think of this? And I'm like, oh, can I see this? And he goes, oh, that part's not done yet. That'll be done after they come back from Chinese New Year. But what do you think? You happy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty happy. Let's make this little change, and we're good. And he's like, all right. And then I got a call, and then I'm on that call, and I get the text, you know, saying, hey, you know, are we going to do this today? And it's like, oh, yep, hold on. Let me call you. You know, let's do this. I forgot. We got to do this. I'm a half hour late, you know.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting the Vans. You know, the Torker Side Hack team. We have our new uniform. The new jerseys are here
Perfectly.
Yeah, these shoes are going to be perfect for when we do the debut of the uniform. Obviously, it's going to be without them, but I designed it specifically for that shoe, and I think it's going to be just rad.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. So I'm stoked. I mean, Vans is a great company to work with, and that's where I feel really blessed with what we've been doing, to where we're getting to work with great companies like Odyssey. We're getting to work with great companies like Vans. You know, we're getting to work with great companies like Oakley and Amy. And, you know, we're able to do a lot of cool things that it makes the 12-year-old Bill super stoked to see this stuff. So that's what I always kind of look at is, you know, how stoked would I be if I were 12 and I saw that? Would I be stoked on that one? And if the answer is yes, then yeah, we're gonna go for that.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it makes money or not, which, I mean, that's where we did the little Torker balance bikes, the little LP balance bikes, to where I was like, well, we have to, you know, because it's going to help get the future generations ready for Torker.
Yeah.
And
Infect them young.
yeah, infect them young. Get them to where they love BMX and that they're just out there. And I want to try and make sure that we have everybody taken care of, because I want to make sure that we're building the best for everybody. That's always been our goal. I've had a lot of people tell us that that's why Supercross has never succeeded. Okay, cool. We've never succeeded. You know, I I feel like that's a loaded question or a loaded statement, because we've gotten 8 Bike of the Year awards from USA BMX, and that's voted on by the fans. Now, we've never done the complete mass market bikes. We've never done, you know, where GT had, you know, 15 different distributorships and 17 different brands. And, you know, we've never gone for the money path. We've always gone for the quality path. And that's what we've been doing with Torker as well. And that's where I think we had such a problem with doing the complete bikes, is that when I got the first wheel sample, I'm like, oh no, this won't work. And they're like, why? This is a good wheel, you know. Other companies use this wheel all the time. And it's like, no, not for us. I want the bearings upgraded. I want this upgraded. I want this upgraded. And they're like, well, that's a whole new tooling. Well, all right, well, that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, and it just kept stretching the timeline process out. My scary part is that when I sat down and did the cost analysis on what these things are costing me now, I'm like, oh crap, you know. And Tucker was so funny. He's like, Dad, he goes, you know, we got to make it to where it's like under $800, so it's out the door for $1,000. And I'm like, yeah, we blew past that a little bit ago, but man, these things are going to be rad.
But the good thing about it is it's not a bike that's going to need to be upgraded. It's coming good. So like, there's a lot of bikes out there, and I always, you know, joke around with you, like Torker is the ultimate upgrade. You know, so you go to the bike shop or you know, whatever discount website, get your parts bike, and then hey, those parts are good enough to get you rolling and looking good on a Torker. So
it's funny that you say that, and I don't want to toss shade at any other brand, but I had a guy call yesterday and he said, hey, I bought a Monza and I really need to upgrade my frame and fork. Will all my parts for my Monza fit over onto my Torker? And I was like, yeah, you're going to be 99% compatible. I go, you know, you can do that. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got really excited about the Monza because, you know, I saw they had the 24-inch ones with the tough wheels. And then I bought the 26. And he goes, I didn't realize that it didn't come with tough wheels. He goes, I thought the 26 came with tough wheels. And I was like, no, Skyway doesn't make a 26-inch tough wheel. And he goes, yeah. He goes, so I'm bummed. And he goes, but I really want the Torker, and I'm going to just swap all my parts over. And I've had people say that they've done the same thing with like a Throne or a couple other brands, you know, to where they're like, yeah, I got this, but I'm switching it over to this. And it's like, okay, cool. And when we dropped the complete Torkers, I don't think anybody's going to need to change a part unless they want to change a color or they have a particular thing, because it's a good double wall alloy rim that looks like a 7X, that has eyelets, it's stainless steel spokes, it's redline flight cranks, seal bearing bottom bracket, you know, seal bearing hubs that look like old Dura Ace hubs that, you know, are just badass. And here I'm talking too much and giving too much away.
Well,
But
you've put pictures out there. People might not fully know, you know, you've kind
yeah,
of masked it a bit, but there's pictures, you know, for
yeah,
people.
there are
There's a lot of
pictures.
sleuths on the internet, you know, so you
Yeah.
could find them. Bill has posted them.
Yeah, there's a couple pictures out there of the first articles, and they've been so much fun to just cruise around on and ride. And I think that that's going to open up a new market for us, for some of these people, because I do get a lot of people who call that are afraid to try and build their own. And Eddie Fiola was here one day when I was talking to a guy, and he actually told the guy, he was like, hey, he goes, it's like building a model car, man. He goes, didn't you like building model cars when you were a kid? You're building this bike. You get to build this bike. And the guy was like, yeah, I sucked at building model cars. I just want to have the bike to where I throw on my pedals, I throw on my bars, I go ride. He goes, I don't want to mess with cutting cables. I don't want to mess with threading bottom brackets. I don't want to mess with putting tires on my rims. And it was funny because Eddie's like, dude, that's half the fun. Half the fun is putting it all together and then knowing that you put it together and you pick the parts and that you get to go ride it. And the guy's like, yeah, not for me, man. And it was funny. And what's weird is I don't think that the guy knew it was Eddie. I think he just thought it was some random guy talking, you know, because during the conversation, he had actually mentioned, he goes, yeah, he goes, you know, that Eddie Fiola cover, that's the one that really got me to where I really love the Torker, and, you know, I'm going to build it up like that. And that's when Eddie kind of chimed in. And I thought maybe the guy would pick up on Eddie's voice or something, because Eddie's got a distinct voice. You know Eddie's voice. And I don't think he ever got it. I think he was just kind of like, no, no, no. And he was just kind of bantering back and forth. But I think it's going to be a big, big change on some things with that, to where it opens up a bigger audience for the love of Torker, right?
Yeah.
It's going to make more people love Torker. And it's cool because
And it's going to be good for shops too, because, you know, you and I have both worked in shops. You've owned a shop. You know that the frames are pretty hard to move on their own unless you've got somebody coming in wanting to build a complete. But, you know, the frames sometimes would just sit there. And then once you finally take the frame down off the wall and you build it, oh, it's out the door.
Yeah. So, very much so. When I was at La Palma, we had done that. We had an old Laguna 101 that was hanging on the wall. And I talked with Turnell and I'm like, how long has that thing been here? And he's like, man, because it was here before we bought the shop. He goes, that thing's been here for 15 years. So Kevin Hull and I built it up using just all the crap that wasn't going to sell. We had a set of green Tough Wheel 2s that were like, nobody's going to buy green Tough Wheel 2s. We had some green Amy grips, and we totally turned it into just this slime ball of a bike because it was a white Laguna 101 frame and a chrome fork. And then we built it all with green parts. And we just put it out on the floor. We were just like, oh, nobody's going to buy that, right? Sure as shit. 2 days later, a kid came in. I want that bike. That bike's so cool. And it's like, really? What about this RL22 that's over here? Or what about this that's over here? No, this is sick. It looks like a slime ball. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the concept we were going for. But, you know, here's a frame that had been in the shop for 15 years that sold within 2 days because it was built up into a complete.
Yeah. So hopefully us doing the completes, we'll start to see them in shops where people could go in and see them on the floor and, you know, turn them on to Torker in a different way without having to, you know, source out all the parts and stuff, which could be overwhelming for, you know, a lot of people. Like the guy you were talking about that, you know, he's talking with.
And that's part of where we even did like the Torker rugs for the dealers, because we were trying to be prepared for when
you can't see it, but I actually have one of the rugs right here in front of me.
nice. I was trying to prepare to where when the complete bikes come in, that way the shop can actually have it on a nice display, because I love working with our shops, right? All of our shops have been so good. Flip over at Albie's is going crazy with the freestyle frames. He's also been selling a bunch of the Pro X's. Chad from Powers has been doing it. Angie from Frank's has been selling them. Scott up at Patriot's been going through them. Twisted Spoke's been going through them. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Level 7. I mean, they're stoked that they can get Torkers, and they're like, yeah, Bill, when are the completes going to come in? When are the completes going to come in? Because they know that they're going to be able to move those through. I know like Foo over at Epic, he's like, Bill, because I want to make Torker huge. He goes, this is going to be rad. And I love the enthusiasm that people have for the brand, and it just makes me happier. You know, it's like, okay, well, there was a reason that I spent 9 years of my life trying to chase this down. You know, it's been good that way. It hasn't been financially good, but it's been.
I'm there with you, bud. I feel it.
Yeah, it's been good for my soul. You know.
Yeah, but you know, I get that feeling whenever I'm out at these events too and stuff, because you know I have all the completes. You know, we build them and we have them on, you know, on our YouTube. You know, I build a bike, I take it out to the track, and people are, you know, they always get to check them out, and then, you know, hey, ride it. Oh no, no. It's like, no, I built it specifically for you to ride this. You know, so they really actually get to feel it, and kind of moving into those events. You know, we get out there and we let people ride these and be able to see them in person and stuff. One of those things is coming up real soon. So whenever this video comes out in 2 days, I'm going to be on the road heading to Indiana to the Midwest Old School show and swap. And so me and Nate from the Side Hack team are heading out. I'm taking the Targa. So, you know, share that piece of our history.
That's
and then
really cool.
I'm debuting the Clint Miller tribute there too. So
that's awesome.
And not only will we have, you know, a couple bikes there to be able to show off and show the history and show where we're at now with the Clint Miller, Eddie Fiola, Mike Miranda will be there, Gork will be there. So we'll have these pretty cool
stickers that I sent you for this too.
Yeah,
and
so we've got the 50-year anniversary stickers there. We'll have the vote for
the Matt Hayden ones, the Mike Aguilera ones. There's a bunch of the Torker ones that are just Torker decals. And I mean, I can tell you now, I mean, since you said Gork's going to be there, we made him one of the 50-year anniversary jerseys. He doesn't know it yet. So it's actually on its way to him right now.
I saw that.
Yeah. So, because I mean, he's just such a huge Torker fan as well. Yeah. And, you know, it's like, this is cool. I mean, I don't think I've met anybody that hasn't had some kind of a connection with what happened with Torker, because you figure Torker was everybody's first freestyle bike. I mean, that was the bike that really launched Bob Haro to be able to start doing Haro bikes.
Yeah.
So many racers.
Freestyle, real freestyle, not just popping off a curb or whatever was literally born on a Torker.
Yeah, very, very much so. That cover of Eddie Fiola in the skate park on the Torker, you know, it was iconic to so many people. And what was weird for me growing up is, I mean, here I am working at SC. I was an SC loyalist. I loved everything about SC, and I just couldn't get them to help sponsor me. And I mean, everybody wants a sponsor. I mean, hell, I get 100 calls a day on that, you know. But here I am working at the shop, and I'm like, well, Perry's got his bike, and Rod's got his bike, and you know, I want an SC too, but I couldn't afford one, right? I couldn't afford one. And it was like, come on, Scott, help hook me up. And he's like, Billy, when you just get a little bit better, okay. So my second favorite frame, and I saw this obviously with the whole Torker team, but when I saw Stulo show up at the Orange Y on a Torker, and he actually let me go ride it, and it was the first time that I actually got to go ride one. So much like you're saying, I was like, oh, I need to get one of these. And I wrote my letter, dear Torker, please sponsor me. I'm, you know, 12 expert or whatever, you know, the whole little thing. And, you know, I live in Cypress, California, which is really close to you guys. And I can't remember who it was that called me because I was so excited, but I got a phone call saying, hey, we got your letter, and yeah, we'd love to help you out. And I was like, yeah, really? That's awesome. And they're like, yeah, come on down, you know. And I had to buy my jersey, I had to buy my frame at a discount, but I was co-sponsored. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I cracked it. And I'm like, oh, go back over. Oh, yeah, okay, here's another one. Oh, okay. I get one for free because, okay, cool. You know, and then I cracked that one. And then they were like, we can't afford to give you another one, man. We're sorry. And that's when the whole thing came about with, you know, Ray Elliott starting to re-weld it for me. And it was really just a simple little thing. The plate that they used to use, instead of being, you know, a good 065 that could actually, you know, withstand the actual impacts of everything, they were going just paper thin because they were trying to keep the weight down, which again goes back to that fisheye head tube gusset. If that gusset was a little bit thicker, they wouldn't have had those cracks coming out of the circle, because the circle, it was the same size as everybody else's, but the gussets were a third of the thickness, where the Cooks brothers was an 049. And I mean, I think the original ones were like 035. You know, the Mongoose ones were 083. You know, so I mean, yeah, you never saw a Mongoose gusset crack. Well, no, it was way overbuilt. You know, the Cooks brothers ones, they at least made the little gusset relievements to where they were skip welding the gusset on so that they didn't have all that pressure building up in one place. And Torker did full seam welds, and that full seam weld just boxes that section in. So when that stress hits it, well, it's got to go somewhere. And with those plates being thin, it would crack. So it wasn't a failure point. It wasn't a bad design. They were trying to really push everything one step ahead. They really wanted to be the performance thing, to where when they said we ship performance, that's what they were doing. They were looking at it. And I mean, you know, from like a race car motor, like with helping your dad on the drag crew, when that motor's just really about to explode, when that motor has one run left in it, that's the best pass you're ever going to do on the drag strip, right? But then that motor is going to be gone. It's toast.
And that's the tough thing with anything racing, is the balance. Like
Yeah.
being light and strong. And, to be fast, you need light. But
Yeah.
to keep it going, you need it to be strong. But
exactly.
do you want to go fast or do you want to go strong? And back then, the materials just there wasn't the carbons with the Toray, technology and all that stuff. So it's like, what are you going to do? If you want to go fast, you got to be light, but you're taking the chance that we cut so much out. If you're a little bit of a squirrel, then you better be careful. Which I know,
exactly.
I know I was squirrely as hell.
And that was part of my problem.
So,
and that was part of my problem is that on my bike back then, just like almost everybody else was doing, we had built the quarter pipe out of BMX Action magazine. So we had the quarter pipe in the driveway. We had built the wedge ramp out of BMX Action magazine, and we didn't use it for doing kick turn trips or anything like that. We used it as a launch ramp, right?
Yeah.
We had it set up on the edge of our driveway, and our front yard had a little bit of a dome to it. So it was like, okay, cool. You come ripping down the street, you jump, you land on the downside of the grass dome, you're good. Well, I found out that if I got going a little bit faster, I could actually clear the yard and I could clear the sidewalk. And I'm landing flat in the street, to where we're going 25 feet off of a 4-foot kicker, going 25 feet, landing on asphalt, and something's got to give, right? I mean, had a one-piece crank shear off on me, had pedals shear off on me, had bars shear off on me. And
imagine if you would have had those $90 House of Loop Tail tires back then. Jody's doing the same thing, and he's saying, imagine if you would have had that.
Oh yeah, it would have been amazing. I mean, back then it was funny. We would go pick up the cheapest Carlisles or the Raleigh Red Dots or something to just put on the bike while we were riding the street because we didn't want to wear out our Comp 2s, and because that was the thing. We'd go down to the end of the street, just sprint at the ramp as fast as we could, and just overshoot it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Completely just.
So speaking of that, there's going to be a whole lot of that kind of riding coming up really soon. And so sorry to segue away, but that kind of riding is going to be happening at 2 big events here coming up pretty quick. They're back to back. We're going to be at Guy Cooper's Cooperfest at the end of May. It's May 22nd through the 24th in Stillwater.
Correct.
That's a downhill track. And Guy Cooper, Supercross legend. He was sending it before people were sending it. He's the guy that Jerry McGrath looked up to or looks up to. So out at his house, he builds this awesome downhill track that's coming straight from his pool in his backyard.
No way. I didn't know it was coming from the pool in his backyard.
Yeah. So he has the starting gate up there, which is a manual gate. Todd Slavic is your gate operator. So he's doing his random cadences, daydreaming about Matt Hayden and giving him a nice hug from behind. But that's an amazing race, and Torker's going to be out there for that one. But then the week after that, we're loading up the truck, loading up the trailer with everything we got. It's going to be me, Nate, Groove, and the Marble Man all piled into the stinky truck, driving across country, heading out to California for Dirtyfest.
Dirtyfest. And that's the way to do it. To caravan, old school style, going to Dirtyfest. And I haven't been out to Guy Cooper's. I am going to see about it this year. this year, May is going to be a little crazy for me because my future daughter-in-law is graduating college in May. And then I also have the birth of my second grandchild, my granddaughter, in May. So thank you. Yeah, May is going to be pretty loaded. I mean, it's funny. My grandson, he's got his little Supercross balance bike and is riding all around their backyard and going crazy. And when my daughter said, "Hey, I'm pregnant again," it was like, "Oh, yeah." And they were really hoping it was going to be a girl. And she got the confirmation that it is going to be a little girl. So my wife's already got a whole thing of clothes already bought for her, and they're decorating the room and getting ready for it. And then, of course, Kayla, she'll be graduating, Texas Christian University that month as well. But I have Guy Cooper's on my list, and Yvonne was looking at me and she's like, "Okay." She goes, that this is going to be a tricky one during May because Kayla's graduating, Paisley's going to be born. You're saying you want to go to this? And she goes, "You're not going if the baby's not here yet, just so you know." And it's like, okay, and then we go into my favorite weekend of the year, which is Dirtyfest. Yeah. And I can't believe how much bigger Dirtyfest has gotten from the first one to the second one to the third one, and now this fourth one. It's gonna blow things away. I'm sure some people saw Noah Hathaway from the Endless Story or the Never Ending Story. Sorry, Noah. Posting up on Fantasia BMX now, and he's got a couple of Torkers. He's got a couple of Supercrosses. He's starting his own YouTube channel to come out, and it was funny. Noah was here and his producer, and we were talking, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to Dirtyfest. That's rad. We've watched all your videos, and it's gonna be awesome." And Miranda had happened to call me, and I was like, "Hey, man, I was just talking with Noah Hathaway, and he's actually really excited. He's going to be out there at Dirtyfest this year." And he's like, "Yeah. More the merrier. The more people, we're always welcome. Mike, friendliest guy in the world, right? Yeah. And he didn't pick up on the name, right? And about 10 minutes later, he texted me back, and he's like, "Hey, Noah Hathaway, is he the kid from Battlestar Galactica and the Never Ending Story?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, dude, you need to do me a favor." I guess his wife, Sierra, is a huge Noah Hathaway fan. So Noah actually, Michael tell the story better probably, but he did a special little video package that we sent over to Mike, to where he's going to do some little Dirtyfest commercials and a little Happy Valentine's Day. That obviously this is after Valentine's Day when this is airing, but to Sierra. And Mike's like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And Tony Perry, the guitarist for Pierce the Veil, he's super excited to come. And the guys from Voodoo Glow Skulls, they're wanting to come, and they're going to try and see if they can play again this year. Last year they were going to play, but they had that festival up in Canada. So with Dirtyfest, I keep telling everybody, hey, it's the world's biggest fun festival. This is the biggest BMX fun festival. Mike is always telling everybody, "Oh, it's the biggest BMX reunion," which I think it's both, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all of these people who, they're not Stu Thompson, they're not, Greg Hill, they're not Mike Miranda, they're not Tommy Brackens, they're not Clint Miller, but they love BMX and they've gone big somewhere else. I mean, I even heard that Eddie Fiola is going to try and get Ed Helms to come on out, because Ed Helms is a huge Eddie Fiola fan.
Yeah.
And, can you imagine just, all these BMXers in the dirt, loving BMX bikes, talking BMX bikes, chewing the shit with everybody, just talking shit on everybody. I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to do this. And then also at the same time, you're hanging out with rock stars, punk rock stars, movie stars, you know, just because they all love BMX too. So they all want to be there.
And it's crazy how many of them were BMXers or are like Atreyu goes from riding the Luck Dragon to riding BMX. You know,
Exactly.
Or like Tim Strange, you know, he started out on a BMX bike and then went on to building cars on TV, and you know, BMX is huge for everybody.
So I can't remember the guy that was talking, and it's my fault. You know, I should remember that stuff. But he was talking, he was like, hey, I would have never built my first hot rod if I hadn't built my BMX bikes growing up. And just like what Eddie was trying to explain to that customer that called, to where half the fun is building it, half the fun is customizing it and making it be your own, to where it's everything you want. And that's what this famous hot rod guy was talking about, to where he's like, yeah, I got my start because of BMX bikes. I used to customize my red line. I used to customize my Torker. I used to customize my PK Ripper. And then once I turned 16, I started customizing my Mustang, and I started customizing my Camaro, and I started customizing my whatever, to where it's just something that's born in your nature, to where if you enjoy tinkering, if you enjoy the building process and hanging out with like-minded people that share that same mentality, to where you're just like, I just want to go ride. I mean, there's a really cool picture of Slash the other day, you know, with his new bike, you know, and rad. I think that's really cool.
Have you seen the picture of Buckethead on a Torker?
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to figure that one out yet. You know, the 6 degrees of separation is what they say, right? I'm trying to figure out what my 6th degree of separation is to get to Buckethead. Because I know somebody that knows Buckethead, or I know somebody that knows somebody that knows Buckethead. And how rad would that be to have him show up with a Torker, you know? I mean, so I'm trying to figure out that 6 degrees of separation, because it's like, okay, do I call this person? Do I call that person? Who's got that channel? So I'm trying to figure that one out, but that would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people get out of this with BMX. And again, with it being our 50-year anniversary, I just want to make things bigger and better and bigger and better. And that's what Miranda has said with Dirtyfest from the get-go. I mean, when it was just an idea on the notes on his phone, and he's like, hey, Bill, what do you think about this? Do you think we could make this happen? Oh, hell yeah, let's do this. Game on, you know. Here we are now, 4 years later, getting ready to do it again and make it even bigger and better. And, you know, Miranda's going to have something really cool that he's going to be announcing for Torker, for Dirtyfest. I haven't even told you this yet because it just happened the other day, but he said that we're going to get to be able to do the Friday night exhibition to show off some of our new cool stuff, to where last year Iconics had that little program set up. This year it's going to be Torker getting to show off their 50-year anniversary stuff. And
we better get set up on that. We better get set up on that. We got some work to do.
Trust me, that's why I've been putting in 14 hours a day, you know. I'm trying to make sure that we've got it, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for everybody to come out and share the fun with us.
Yeah, and after that, you know, the fun doesn't stop either, because you know we got the National BMX Hall of Fame. This is our 50-year anniversary, and usually we set up, you know, we do a split Torker and Supercross, but this year we're going all out, because whenever we go out to Dirtyfest, part of that, is going to be bringing back some of that legacy for the Hall of Fame so we can show that off too. And we're pushing real hard right now. We have 2 Torker riders that aren't in yet. They've been on the short list year after year after year. You know, we got Mike Aguilera. We made the sticker for him.
Yep.
We got Matt Hayden. We made the sticker for him. Voting is coming up pretty soon. So we know that they're in the running. So they'll be on the list to be able to vote for. And I think it's like 500 voters that get to vote for the Hall of Fame. So we need everybody. You know, Mike is an early racer. Matt is racer category. But Matt is across the whole board. You know, he was early racer into racer. And his legacy, his just accomplishments are crazy. There's no reason he should not be in there. So we got to spread the word. We got to get Mike in. He's from the 79 national #1 Torker team. Yeah. He's not in yet. Like,
and he should be. And that's where it drives me nuts. And I know when we were talking,
Matt was just an awesome rider too. Like he rode for a bunch of people before coming to Torker. And then once he got to Torker, he was still dominating. And I know Eddie always says that cruiser doesn't count, but he was the cruiser. He was the cruiser king. That's why whenever we did the diesel,
we did the diesel for him.
Yeah, because he was the cruiser king. He would just dominate. And but it wasn't just on that. Like, he was super consistent throughout his whole pro career. Like, it was rare to not see him in a pro main, where like you have a lot of people, and not to say anybody doesn't belong in there, but you have a lot of people that have gotten in that have had a good year. Right. Matt had a good 15 years, solid.
Yeah. He was the first person to ever quintuple.
Yeah.
So that was back on his Bandito days. And he was the first one to quintuple, to where, actually, sorry, not quadruple, not quintuple. You know, he had class, cruiser, open, trophy dash, all in one day at a national. I mean, it was like, wait a minute. That's 4 class wins in one day. That's crazy.
Yeah, there was a reason why people called him the master before he was the diesel.
Exactly. And he had a really good long career. And not only did he have a really good long career, he's one of the nicest guys, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's something humble. Where so humble. And I hate to have to keep going back to that, but I mean, all of the riders that we've tried to work with that were Torker riders, are Torker riders, you know, the Supercross riders, they're just great people that they just happen to go fast. And I know it was really cool for me, and I know it was cool. I think you saw it at Dirtyfest last year. I was a little out of it because of my knee surgery, but when Nick Keeman, you know, the Olympic gold medalist, is eyeing up Clint, like, oh my God, that's Clint Miller. And then Nick went ahead and bought Torker t-shirts and stuff so that he's got memorabilia, you know, and he wanted the picture with Clint, posted it up on his Instagram and all that. And Clint was like, oh, I'm just a guy. And it's like, no, you don't understand what you did. You don't understand the groundwork that you guys laid for all of this stuff. And that's where with Aguilera, I mean, Aggie, I mean, that kid killed it. I mean, when you look at that ad where it posts out for 79, you know, boom, 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 boom. You just got all these win after win after win after win after win. And Hayden, I mean, his career, just like you said, I mean, all the time from when he was on, what was it, H&S, the Hacienda Schwinn bike shop, and then Bandito, and then getting on the Diamondback, and then getting onto Balance, and then Torker. And I mean, his whole career, I mean, it spans this time. And he's always been so nice, so humble, and just
he was my favorite pro whenever I was a kid, you know, because I'm from the mid school era, and I was riding the 83 Torker, and him and Clarence Perry saw me win the SoCal Nationals on the 83 Torker. And Matt had just swapped his frame. You know, he went through a ton of Torker frames, and it was never because he needed to. It's because he just wanted a different color.
Yeah. It's like Eddie Fiola with GT, to where he'd come by and pick up 15 bikes because he wanted a different one every.
Yeah.
So those were the days of being a pro.
Right. So yeah, Matt had his very first Torker in the old Torker box truck, and whenever I rode by with my trophy, Clarence called me over and he handed me Matt's first Torker frame, which I still have. So
wow.
So that will be on display at the National BMX Hall of Fame. When he gets inducted, I'm rebuilding that bike for him, since that was his first Torker. I'm going to rebuild that so it could go into the museum. I didn't tell you, but I'm picking up your Matt Hayden frame and bringing it back, or not frame, but the black complete
yeah,
that we did in the mid-school pad video.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that back to the Hall of Fame. You have Steve Veltman's prototype frame.
Yes.
Up in the rafters. That needs to come back for the Hall of Fame. You know, we're celebrating the 50 years of Torker. That's a part of it.
It is. And
you're
it's so
no
cool.
bullshit big bike that is the base of what the new big bike that you're building is off of. You know,
yeah.
That's got to come back for the Hall of Fame. We gotta blow up this year for the Hall of Fame.
Man, we got a lot of extra work to do, because you just reminded me of some stuff like that. Because again, up in the mezzanine, we've got so much of my history. Because like you said, you didn't get rid of a lot of your stuff. I didn't get rid of a lot of my stuff. I did get rid of some stuff to where, like, I had my old original quad that was the loop tail. And I was like, oh man. And my daughter needed some dental work. And somebody hit me up and said, hey, I'll give you $2,000 for it. And I'm like, well, it's my daughter's tooth or an old frame. Here, you get the old frame. My daughter gets her tooth fixed. And the one that I really regret getting rid of is I actually had Scott Bryhop's personal Reynolds OM Flyer that had, you know, SB welded into the bottom bracket. It had a couple extra little changes that were just for Scott. And he had given me that to ride later on in the time of things. And after I got done racing and riding, and it got hung up in the rafters, and someone had hit me up and said, hey, I heard you have that. And it's funny because, like, all the 26-inch Azusas, the 26-inch skunk quads that we did for vintage, they all used that frame for all the geometry, right? So I used Scott's personal geometry to build all those 26-inch bikes. And there was a collector that was after me and after me and after me and after me and after me. And we had to do something with Supercross where I needed to come up with like an extra $5,000 like now. And I was like, man, where am I going to pull off this money? And Tim Cook, the collector, I called him and said, hey, I need 5G. And if you'll give me 5G for it, you can have it. But the condition is I get it back if you ever decide to sell it. And I hit him up a couple years later because he had ended up selling off his collection. I'm like, hey, I'll buy it back from you. I want that back. And he goes, oh man, I'm sorry, that's long gone. He goes, I think I got $20,000 for it. And I'm like, holy crap, you know, it's worth more than that, you know, and it's also worth nothing, right? It's an old frame. It's worth nothing, but the historical part of it, and that's part of where I still have that FMF that I got from Scott, you know, and that's where I've got my old Torker 26. I've got, another Torker 20 LP. I've got two of them up there, from when I was riding for Torker. And
I remember we pulled them down from one side of the shop and pulled them all over to the other side during the move last year.
Exactly. And I mean, that's the thing to where I've actually had a couple people show up saying, hey, can I just organize your mezzanine for you? And it's like, no, no. And I hate to say it that way because I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, I want to be the one to rediscover all my little bits and pieces of the memories and be able to set it all up and get it all dialed in. But I've got to do something with that. And I know I keep saying here that, oh, well, we've got a big enough building. We're going to do a museum. We're going to do this. And it's like, yeah, actually, we don't have that much room and we don't have enough space to do that. And I was talking with Cameron the other day. I was like, hey, we might need to build another building out back that mirrors this building, and we'll take 3,000 square feet and set it up as a museum for all the Supercross stuff, all the Torker stuff. And then also I would like to do it for, I helped Tommy Brackens with the Brackens frame. So I'd like to have that in there, and the Assassin for SC. I designed that for Devitt. So I want to have that in there. And I'm getting long-winded again. I'm sorry. I need to stop. It's just dreams and plans, ideas of things.
In the meantime, before building another building to be able to do all that, Gork, look at what he's done at the museum. All the bikes hanging. You got
actually a really good idea.
We could just make the whole thing up there.
Well, Joe, who works for us, he's told me what he wants to do is, that one overlook that we have from the second floor that looks down into that other part of the warehouse, that cutout is 35 feet long and 4.5 feet tall. And when we did that cutout, they put LED lights that are LED spotlights along that railing to just help keep that area lit up. Joe was like, hey, Bill, what I want to do is I'm going to turn that into a display box. He goes, I'm going to plexiglass it in on both sides. And what we'll do is we'll clean up the frames and we'll make a frame display, a frame display, a frame display, and be able to have all that to where as you're walking from up what was from my office and then the other office and then what was Tucker's office and then to the back bathroom, as you're walking along that aisleway, you'd still be able to look through to see the warehouse, but we'd have history of our frames all done up in plexiglass. And I was like, man, that would be a really good idea. And then on this side of the building, he was like, hey, I'll hang them up above the roll-up doors and we can have the complete bikes up there. We can do this. And he's had all these good ideas, but we've been so busy that we haven't even had a chance to do it. And he unfortunately just had to have his appendix. So,
yeah. And one thing that people don't really know, they think of Supercross and Torker as this massive company, like how Haro used to be, and like these huge companies. And honestly, with Torker, there's 1.5 people dedicated to it regularly. You being the one, me being the half.
Or me being the half, you being the one.
Right. We take turns sometimes. Then
depends on the day.
Lincoln helps with the social media, and
he's running for county commissioner, so he's going to be super slammed if he gets that position.
So, and then Tucker, he's got a full-time job with Supercross, as do you.
Yeah.
So it's like really. Torker is really a very small business that people perceive as big because they think that Supercross is big. But Torker is borrowing from Supercross because Torker's borrowing you, and it's borrowing your accountant, it's borrowing your
Shipping,
shipping. So
warehouse,
if you
insurance.
if you count everybody, there's 6 people that are really helping. And
Yeah, so there's myself, there's Joseph, there's John, there's Tucker, there's Kayla, and that's the 5 solid right now. We had Joe here for a long time, but Joe's been having some trouble with his diabetes and a stroke, and then they just found out that he had an abscess on his appendix, so that dropped out. Kylie used to be here, but she's so busy with her modeling career and everything, that dropped out. Faith was here, but she's got some things going on, so that dropped out. So there's 5 plus you. That's it. And we do everything. And that's part of where, 14-hour days, that's a common thing. Robert Bebout always sends me a text about 6 o'clock, and he's like, "You ready to go home half day?" And I'm like, "No," and he's like, "Oh man." And Bebout's so cool, he'll stop by, and I mean, Bebout's got BMX history that runs so deep, and he got a dream job driving that big rig for Fly Around to all the motocross races, but he always jokes with me all the time. He's like, "God damn it, Bill, you're good." And Redmond used to tell me, Redmond would always be like, "Damn it, Bill, you're going to die at your desk. You're going to have the latest, greatest, best frame design underneath your dead body when they lift you up." And I'm like, please don't say that.
While I agree with them, but at the same time, you're having a hell of a time having fun doing it. So
yeah, 100%. 100%.
Obviously, you're doing it for the love. I'm doing it for the love. It's all like even whenever it's a tough day, whenever people are upset, waiting for those parts, where's the tires? Where's the grip? How come I can't have the grips? Make some bars, you idiots.
Yeah.
It's tough, but
it is.
We love BMX, and you and I both remind each other all the time. There's 5 people yelling and screaming, being mad, and trying to bring everybody else down and make us feel like idiots and calling us idiots and really trying to insult us. But there's thousands of people out there that you, Bill, are making happy every single day, giving them the Torker that they've always wanted, giving them a Supercross, giving their kids a new balance bike to be able to infect them. And we've been on now for like 2 hours, and I think it's
man, I'm sorry.
I think it's
we treated our friends so badly. I'm sorry, guys. I wasted 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
So, but I think we could wrap it up here. We talked about a ton of stuff, but what it really rolls up into is that BMX is fun. And, we wanted to give updates on stuff that we already had going on. You've heard kind of some of the little hints at some of the stuff that's coming to be able to grow that tree. And where to find us. We have several events coming. Like I said, we'll be in just 2 days. We're heading out to Indiana for a show. So make sure, again, come and get your 50-year anniversary stickers and other things that we may have with us. And I think that's it. So
no, and guys, thank you for all the love and passion that you guys have given us back with Torker. And I hope that we're providing you guys with what you need and what you want for your warm, fuzzy BMX feeling. And I mean, the only reason we're doing this is because it's our passion. I mean, you were on a Torker co-sponsor program. I was on a Torker co-sponsor program. We didn't get to be factory guys like Tommy and Mike and Clint and Jason and Kathy and all that, but they're our dear friends, and we're trying to remember the past while we grow the tree. And I've wanted to do these little Inside Torker things. I know we originally said we were going to do them every month just to keep people updated.
Yeah.
Our schedules just get too busy. We're trying to do too much to try and take care of everybody. And that's where this year we're going to slim it down a little bit. We're going to have an amazing 50-year anniversary. And again, I hope I haven't bored all of our friends who are watching. I probably have. I'm probably going to get hate mail over this. You know,
Right.
God, Bill, you talk too long. Yeah, I do. Shut up.
Everybody's just waking up right now. You know, the YouTube has moved past us, and it's coming up to like an old episode of Ancient Aliens or something, and you're waking up. What happened?
Have you had that happen before? I have.
I've definitely had that happen. So, Bill, it's been great talking to you as always. We got to do
David, thank you for your time. Thanks for jumping on the call. But all of our friends out there, you know what you need to do. You need to go grab a buddy, grab a bike, and go ride. And we'll see you on the next one.